Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carlotta Mingardi, and I'm here today with some of my colleagues from the European Scholars Program. The European Scholars Program brings together young researchers from all across Europe, and our team specifically worked on a project called Unmute the Youth, which aims to tackle the very complex topic of young people democratic disconnection in Europe, and provides hopefully some useful recommendation to policymakers trying to bridge this gap, especially using e-democracy tool. And this is why we are also very happy to welcome our guest, Robert Björnsson, today. Robert is the president and co-founder of the not-for-profit organization Citizen Foundation, based in Iceland. And we are very happy to have him with us today. Has one of the projects of Citizen Foundation by the Reykjavik was kind of one of the models that we use during our research, and we actually drawn some of our recommendation from Better Reykjavik experience. So thank you very much, Robert, for being with us today.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So just the first question, if you could introduce what is the story of Better Reykjavik? What were the challenges it wishes to address? And also, what actually are the elements of its success? Because it is the platform, one of the most successful platforms we encountered during our research. So, thank you.
Yeah, great. So, the Citizen Foundation is sort of born out of the financial crisis in 2008. And we were founded with the idea of helping to connect the citizens and governments, and sort of with the aim of improving decision making. And the financial crisis hit Iceland pretty badly. There was three main banks here. They all went bankrupt over a period of 10 days. And there was a lot of loss of trust in society, and especially trust in politicians. It sort of dropped from like 60-70% down to like 6-7%, over a number of couple of weeks. And we started to build open source technical platforms, like civic tech platforms, to sort of reach this goal. And in 2010, with the city of Reykjavik, we launched the Better Reykjavik, which basically gives citizens the opportunity to take part in policymaking, to decide with the city on how a large part of the new investment budget are spent through a participatory budgeting process. And it's simple to use. The first project launched in 2010. We are now in 1 week starting our 9th participatory budgeting voting part. And
this is great.
Yeah, and there's been there's over 30,000 registered users. There's like 130,000 people who live in the city, and so it's it's been growing and growing over those years, and it's really sort of helped to empower people. And I think that's been the key element why it has been successful, because it's like tangible, like you mentioned in your results of your project, where it's asking citizens to come in and help the city take decisions on something that people care about, like the near environment, like an education policy of the city, and so on. So, and then the second really crucial part of why it has been so successful is that we have employed like modern marketing, like online marketing, to let people know about those opportunities to participate. There's so much going on in people's feeds all the time, that really, if you want to get them to participate in anything, you have to get on that feed with an ad. So,
yeah, no, that's true. No, thank you very much. Actually, we already had the chance to talk to you during the early stages of our research and our project, and with the need for feedback, you use the word tangible. It was very much felt, and also the need for promoting actually what you were doing. Another interesting aspect, though, was what we often see in other online platforms, which is the need to make the dialogue constructive. So we have several examples of in which this actually do not work. And what would you think would be the way to make the dialogue constructive and to take away any rate of toxicity?
Yeah, actually, that was one of our first challenges. Actually, a year before we launched Better Reykjavik, we did another project with the Icelandic Parliament called Shadow Parliament that gave people access to laws going through the Icelandic Parliament. And we had the law there about fisheries policy in the first evening when we launched the platform. And we had like a regular commenting system like you have on Facebook. And just after 1 or 2 hours, we had the horrible personal argument on the page where people were calling each other names. And we were like, me and Gunnar, who my co-founder, we looked at each other and said like, oh, great, we've created one more place on the internet for people to argue on. So before we launched Better Reykjavik, we really started to look and did a lot of research and looked at a lot of academic research, psychology and all sorts of things. And so we came up with this idea of having, instead of asking people to comment on things, to ask them to contribute to something useful, is find the pros and cons of different issues. And then we also sort of prohibit people to sort of comment on other people's, if I put a point against something and other people see it, they can sort of vote it down, but they can't comment on it directly. They have to put a point in the other column. So it's like a bit of psychology, but it's also just sort of human nature is that you ask people to do something like on a website like that. And if you think about it in a constructive way and you ask people to do something constructive, actually it works. I mean, people are, ready to take part in those sort of deliberations. And also it's like the anti-echo chamber, because each page, with points for and against, has the same people with both sides of an argument. And like if you're on your mobile phone and you're like scrolling through the points, you always get like 1.4, 1 against, 1.4, 1 against. So we're sort of exposing people to the other side of the argument, which I think it's really important because, face it, most issues in government have pros and cons. There are points for everything, there's points against everything. And it will help make better decisions, and it's useful in making better decisions if you capture both.
That's very interesting, Robert. It's very nice to meet you again, first of all. And I was thinking of two things while you were speaking. One of them was if you also have some kind of moderation. Do you have some kind of moderation? And if you have that, how costly is this for you? Because this might be something that policymakers would be thinking about. Another thing is, what do you do with very, let's say, polarizing topics?
Yeah, well, first on the toxicity, well, generally just through our design and iterations over 12 years of the technology, we do like 70, we push the platform online to our cloud service like 70 times a year or something like that. And we're always improving it. And sort of as a baseline, by not allowing comments on other people's comments, that reduces the toxicity to very, very low, proportions. But in addition, as sort of a insurance policy, we're also using, artificial intelligence, and we use like an API developed with open source technology, from Google, Economist, Guardian, Wall Street Journal, and some others. That is actually one of the best ways of detecting toxicity in tests. So each comment that goes out on the platform is actually automatically monitored by this toxicity AI, and then the administrators of a given project, they will get the notification if the AI finds something toxic just right away, and so people can then deal with that. And the third layer is that if you are expecting controversial comments as an administrator, then you can also, or a group of administrators, they can adjust the platform to actually send them email on every single idea that comes in. So, and with controversial topics in general, actually, this sort of an interface or design where you have sort of the two sides of the argument actually on desktop have like, side by side, you have your space for both sides of any argument. It actually lends really well to controversial topics, because then you have sort of the best arguments from each side in terms of what the controversy is. And sort of it's, we have seen, even if, not obviously, not all topics are controversial, but a lot of topics are, and we've seen no problems with people being able to approach controversial topics in this format of basically trying to boost their, they think they're in one camp about it, they don't like it, to come up with the best reason why it's not good. And then the people who really do like it, for them to come up with the best reasons why it is possible. And it also feels, because even if you have an issue that has 10,000 people want to do it, and then you have 100 people who don't want to do it, in the user interface, there's equal weight. So the minority is, on the other side of the argument is never drowned out, So when you're scrolling on your mobile, you see always an argument for, argument against, and so on. So even if there's a lot less people behind the arguments against, so that gives people the feeling that they are being listened to, So it works well.
That's super useful. Thank you, Robert. Another thing that I wanted to ask you about is the promotion part, because of course we cite in our report, we cite that you spent 80% of your budget on promotion, and I think this might be something that you could very easily miss, that you have to promote, that you have to reach people. So how do you do that? Like, what do you spend this money on?
Well, I mean, it's different people, and it's actually sort of up to 80%. I mean, not all projects are, have so much advertisement, but that is the critical factor. Like, and the example I was talking about in that sense was the participatory budgeting project, where it's been growing and growing, and the key success of the growth, has been increased spending on advertisement. And for the first sort of 5 years, the team at the city of Reykjavik along with us, and we were buying ads on Facebook, and we spent a lot of money on that and other platforms. I think it was in 2016 then the city decided to increase the budget. So there was budget to hire an advertisement agency, like a professional one, with the trained people who know how to best create advertisement and how best to then, pay the advertisement, like Facebook, the platforms, how to use it. So, and they also branched into some TV ads and radio ads, and there are billboards in the bus stations, and that really works in terms of that you spend more resources on letting people know about it, and you get more people participating, and it's just that, I think that, sometimes people miscalculate their Facebook pages, for example, or their Twitter accounts. A government maybe feel that they have, 100,000 followers on their Facebook group, that they promote something there, and then 100,000 people, or like, a lot of people will see it, maybe not everybody. But I mean, that's so far from the truth today, because only a tiny, if you post something on your Facebook page, the only tiny minority of people are going to see it, of your users. So, I mean, this didn't, used to be like this, but I mean, the pages were more organic before. But as Facebook and the other social media ad platforms, they have been sort of, I mean, what you have to do now, it's almost like paying a tax, to Facebook, that you have to pay them a little budget to promote your post. And often it's not that expensive, but if you don't do it, you are really not a lot of people are gonna see it, So I think that's really, really important. I think it's the make and break, and most of the projects that we've seen between having, very few people participating and then having this mass participation in democracy we're seeing in sort of participatory democracy we're seeing in Iceland.
Great. So I think like a takeaway is that you really need to promote. It's crucial to promote. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Promote in different areas, and don't just use Facebook. Don't just rely on Facebook.
Yeah, and well, if you use Facebook, then you have to take part in their advertisement system and pay them to promote your post. I mean, that's sort of the critical point. And Facebook is great. I mean, it's great too, because there's so many people connected to it of really wide age ranges, And I know, I mean, in terms of, the past few years, we've had a lot of focus on trying to attract young people, which is, in the subject of this project. And one of the things that the advertisement agency has been doing is to make deals with influencers. Like Instagram influencers, and I'm sure this year they've probably prepared like a TikTok dance or something as well, But you have to do stuff like that,
Great.
Yeah, actually, we are super happy to hear that, because in our findings we came across several of things you just mentioned. I mean, the importance of some figures of civil society as like gatekeepers to trying to reach young people, but also like presence of social media is incredibly important, but it's also important to know how to use these instruments, as you just said, because another interesting finding we came across was that presence, as you said, it's not enough. I mean, it's not that because you're there, you're going to reach people. So there is a whole world that, we should be able to navigate if we actually want to engage people. So this is extremely fascinating and interesting. And we are very happy that you were able to join us for this conversation. It really had something valuable to our project, and we wish you all the best for future project of Citizen Foundation. And we thank you again, Robert. Thank you for being with us.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really happy to help. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Robert.